Say, I think it was within a half mile.
The whole bar, yeah.
What's that?
Are you gonna read this?
You.
Okay.
I started to read it.
I can read it if you want.
I'm sorry, I see that one.
It's just, yeah. Then I can give you any updates that you want to. So.
So we're calling this meeting to order. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order for a disaster declaration resolution. We hope to just read this out, get some feedback, and explain the logic of it and answer any questions regarding the resolution. And then we hope to pass this resolution today in this meeting. What's that?
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Here.
Peter.
Here. Okay, we got a majority. So I'll go ahead and read this resolution, and we'll start with that. Fair enough?
Okay.
Okay, this is disaster declaration, whereas Warren County, Iowa experienced tornadoes and severe thunderstorms, including high winds and hail that occurred on March 5th, 2022. And whereas a tornado traveled through the northern part of Warren County, causing destruction in the city of Norwalk and the unincorporated area of the northern portion of Warren County. And whereas extensive damage occurred to public and private properties, infrastructure, roads, homes, businesses, emergency communications, and other emergency responders and utilities. And whereas the damage caused disruption of utility services and endangerment of health and safety of Warren County citizens. And whereas Warren County emergency operations plans are in effect throughout the unincorporated areas of Warren County and in local city jurisdictions. And whereas the cost and magnitude of responding to and recovering from the impact from this event is far in excess of Warren County resources. Therefore, the Board of Supervisors of Warren County, Iowa has declared a countywide disaster declaration on behalf of Warren County, and the board will execute the expenditure of emergency funds from all available resources, invoke mutual aid agreements, and apply to the state of Iowa for assistance.
Second that motion.
Okay, so I've made the motion. Supervisor McIntyre has seconded the motion. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Motion's approved. And what else do you need, Don?
You can interview. Motion to, unless Troy would like to talk about things.
I can give you an update if you wish.
I think that'd be nice.
I know you were asking earlier.
Yes.
You're a hard person to get a hold of.
I
You don't
know.
have voicemail.
It's been a tough few days, but I
I'll
appreciate
trade
your
you.
patience for sure.
I'll trade you.
Yeah, no kidding. No, thank you.
We did have a significant storm. It was a Saturday afternoon. The storm ended up being calculated through parts of Warren County, which would be the Norwalk area and west of ESF4. That's almost 160, 170 mile an hour winds. We had large hail, wind, rain, all along with that, straight line winds. It did significant damage to the Norwalk area, which that's where the media's at. Also, it did a lot of significant damage to, I want to call it rural agricultural businesses, farm businesses, as well as the rural residents of Warren County throughout the northern part of the county. Basically, a lot of the structures that are the out structures is leveled, most of those. Tractors and trucks and cars have been destroyed with that. A lot of homes, it's parts of roofs or total roofs removed from the winds. So what I did Sunday was call the governor's office and worked with Homeland Security to turn on by verbal agreement to the governor to have the independent assistance turned on, which is the low income, to help those folks out, which opens a lot of other programs within that program. And as you've seen, there's it was on the ground for 70 miles. So there's several counties that are involved, so that might help us statewide. Maybe there might be more support, help with some of the cleanup. Right now, it's kind of limited. Other than the Winterset area, they really are devastated. So DO, which is the emergency manager there, has asked the state to come in and help them with some of the cleanup. I visited this afternoon with our engineer, the county engineer, Dave, and he's like, we really don't have anywhere to stack this stuff if we have the rural residents take it somewhere. He recommends after the burn ban is lifted to maybe cut it up and burn it on the rural property, which is the farms and that, and then take and pile the metal up for to take to Alders or however they want to recycle it, so to speak. City of Norwalk, of course, has got different programs within the city to take care of theirs, which is nice that they were able to do that. And they're trying to help the people on Coolidge that are in the rural area to best they can to help with some of that removal as well. Power line situation, it's going to be off and on for a while over there because of repairing lines, putting in new poles and transmission lines that's been down. So our 63, I don't know, as this morning it wasn't open totally, but it should be pretty soon. I don't want to put my foot in the sand and say, yes, it's open right now, because they could close it again for whatever to do the repairs. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I've seen some pretty impressive stuff. I do have video and photos coming, and I'll share them with the board once we get them all done and calculated where they're at, because you can look at a picture and go, where's that? So we're putting addresses with those photos, so you guys have a library of the destruction, I want to call it, that's out there. In my almost 40 years of being an emergency responder, I have not seen a tornado with this significance, and how lucky that we are. 1,000 to 1,500 feet to the northwest of that trail would have done a lot more damage throughout the city of Norwalk. And then, as you know, that in the rural part, just past or east of Norwalk, is more residential in the rural area that would have been affected even more. We did have a situation at Norwalk in the evening. They had a senior living center that was trying to deal with some generation and some of that, and where their fire chief was able to figure out to have I can't think of the name of the company, but their rental service, to rent some big generators, and figured out how to put heaters in there, not space heaters, to warm these pods up that these people live in. They had several that just were afraid to move because it was dark and cold and snowing, and so it was best practice to probably just keep them there if they can keep them warm. So that did happen, and was able to take care of that. So in the county, I have not heard of any deaths or severe injuries or anything like that to this date, but we're still in the cleanup phase. We could still have something, but it's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
There is a crisis cleanup team that I've been posting, that it's a hotline that they can call and be on the list, and if they qualify for some of the cleanup stuff, there is some assistance to help with cleanup, bringing it to the curb or piling it up, or however that may be, wherever they're at, city of Norwalk or in the rural of Warren County. But we are getting some of that help that's migrating this way from the Winterset area, so there is help a little bit out there. Some of it's at a cost, and some of it's free or volunteers.
Okay. So just from a personal standpoint, people in Warren County, nobody in harm's way at this point, or in in need of food or shelter?
I haven't heard of anything, and we've been asking, so I want to knock on wood and say this is Iowa, and we help our neighbors.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of that going on right now, and that's really good.
Biggest challenge right now is cleanup.
Yes.
That's where you're.
There is
Right.
massive, we're talking trees big around just 2 tables, you know, they're just big stuff. You just don't roll that up to the curb or roll it into a pile or even try to burn it, because it's, one, we have a burn ban countywide right now, but 2, it's not gonna burn because it's green, you know, and that, so how they're gonna mitigate against that, I don't know. That's time coming to figure out what they're gonna do with that. FEMA money, if there would ever be any, it's really replacement money, and it's never 100%. But FEMA will be involved, and that might be a payout in 2023. We don't know. You just don't know, but we'll fill out the paperwork as time goes through this event, and maybe we will. Visiting with Dave Carroll, he's tracking on his end, because he knows that every once in a while there is that opportunity to go back and save those budget costs by replacing through the FEMA money. But
Okay.
don't know.
Well, you have your resolution, and I would just ask, and number one, thank you on behalf of Warren County for all the
Yeah.
work you've done, and that's glad, we're grateful to have somebody of your caliber doing what you're doing right now in this time of need. And if there's anything, please keep the board up to date on what you're challenged with, what you may need, how we can help.
Sure.
Please keep us in the loop. We're here to fill the gap wherever that may be. And
Right.
we want to be responsive to the people of Warren County, as you've been. And we want to keep them people in our prayers and in our hearts and in our minds, and be
Yeah.
there for people right now. It's critical that our county does that.
We did work with Winterset a little bit. I was busy doing this side of stuff. I am the district rep for District 1. Winterset's in District 4. So we brought coordinators down from the northern part of the state to come down and help Dio over there. So some of that was going on in the background as well. They offered to come over here and help us, but we really at that time were getting a good handle on it, and the responders from Norwalk and Martinsdale Fire were pretty much had it covered for a while. We didn't have any missing people, which was a lot off of everybody's chest to stop and you know, if there is missing, it's a different ball game. You have to search differently and go through rubbish and trees and everything else.
You said 1,500 foot would have made a big difference. Isn't that, I mean, a blessing from the standpoint of course we had a tragedy, but
Yeah.
think about if it was 1,000 foot to the
Yeah.
south, or 1,000 foot one direction or the other,
Yeah.
what we could be dealing with today.
Right.
It's, sometimes these things make you grateful, and I think that's the approach we need to take sometimes.
And that's
Could have
right.
been worse.
I like to
Worse.
push the weather radios. You know, if you need one in your home, I have access for those weather radios. If you know people that want to purchase one, or you can purchase one at the hardware store or whatever. And then there's phone apps out there also that, you know, can give you that early alert. We call it early detection, early warning, and on our side of the thing, you know, as far as watching radar and dispatch and sounding those outdoor storm sirens. A lot of calls, well, I didn't hear the siren go off. Well, if you're in the house and in your basement where you're supposed to be, you probably won't hear that siren go off because you're not outside. And it's an outdoor storm siren.
How much time did we have? I mean, this wasn't something that in my personal life that I saw coming at all, and
It happened within about 5-10 minutes of the weather service saying, this looks like it's gonna be a bad storm, to it's in Winterset, we have a touchdown. And of course, we're doing the actions over here of going ahead and starting the storm sirens. During the time that the storm was hit, the weather service, and I haven't heard this ever until the other day, was take cover now, take cover now. And they were getting our attention to make sure that we as responders were taking cover, because they knew a lot of responders were out watching this storm, and it was a worry on their part too. So if they're worried, you know we're worried. So.
It's a defining moment when you start hearing stuff like that. Take cover now. A whole
Yeah.
different perspective on things. I'm out,
Yeah.
surveying the land, looking for the storm, making sure, and then take cover now. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't believe some of the emotions that people are feeling at that point.
Yeah, and they're, like you say, our prayers are out for the Winterset people. It lifted that house up and twisted it and brought it back down. They did not have a basement or a fallout shelter, so they were under a bookcase, stairwell type setup, and the weight of the building was just too much, and injured and fatality there. So they tried to get out of harm's way, but it didn't work so well. And so that's where we push, build a storm shelter, build a cave, build a storm shelter in a basement or a dugout or whatever. Because this is Iowa, and we may not be in Tornado Alley, as they call it, like in Kansas, but we are close enough. And we're close enough to get those supercells like what happened yesterday, or Saturday.
Well, good. Thank you for your time.
You
If there's
bet.
any needs out there, please let the board of supervisors know.
Sure.
And we're here for you, okay?
Sure.
All right. Is there anything else that, I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Okay,
Fair
second.
enough with that? Okay.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Cool.